Chapter 4. The enemies of the tribes of Judah and Benjamin heard that those who had returned from Babylon were rebuilding the temple of the Lord, the God of Israel. So they went to speak with Zerubbabel and the leaders of the families and said, "We want to help you build the temple. We worship the same God you do, and have been offering sacrifices to him since the time of Esarhaddon, king of Assyria, who brought us here." But Zerubbabel, Jeshua, and the other leaders of the Israelite families replied, "We do not need your help to build a temple for the Lord our God. We alone will build it, just as King Cyrus of Persia commanded us." Then the people of that region tried to discourage the Israelites and make them afraid so they would stop building. They also bribed officials to work against them and frustrate their plans. This continued throughout the entire reign of Cyrus, king of Persia, and into the reign of Darius, king of Persia. At the beginning of the reign of Xerxes, the enemies wrote an accusation against the people of Judah and Jerusalem. Mithridates, Tabeel, and their associates wrote a letter to King Artaxerxes. The letter was written in Aramaic and translated into Persian. Rehum the governor and Shimshai, the scribe, also wrote a letter to King Artaxerxes against the people of Jerusalem. The letter said, "This letter is from Rehum, the governor, and Shimshai, the scribe, together with their associates, the judges, and officials from Erech, Babylon, and Susa in the land of Elam, and the other people whom the great and powerful Ashurbanipal deported and settled in the city of Samaria and the rest of the province west of the Euphrates." The letter continued, "To King Artaxerxes, your servants in the province west of the Euphrates send this message. Be it known to the king that the Jews who came up from your land to us have arrived in Jerusalem and are rebuilding that rebellious and wicked city. They are repairing the walls and soon will finish. Be assured, O king, that if this city is rebuilt and its walls restored, they will not pay taxes or tribute, and this will harm the royal treasury. Since we are loyal servants of the king and do not wish to see you dishonored, we suggest that you have a search made in the records of your ancestors. You will find that Jerusalem has been a rebellious city, troublesome to kings and provinces, and that rebellions have often occurred there. That is why the city was destroyed. We are certain that if this city is rebuilt and its walls restored, you will lose control of the entire province west of the Euphrates." The king sent this reply, "To Rehum the governor, Shimshai the scribe, and your associates living in Samaria and in the rest of the province west of the Euphrates. Greetings. The letter you sent was read to me. I ordered a search to be made, and it has indeed been found that Jerusalem has a long history of rebellion against kings and has been a place of revolt and uprisings. Powerful kings ruled in Jerusalem and controlled the province west of the Euphrates, and taxes and tribute were paid to them. Therefore, issue an order to stop the work, so that this city is not rebuilt until I so command. Take care to do this, so that no harm comes to the crown." When the copy of King Artaxerxes' letter was read to Rehum, Shimshai, and their associates, they went immediately to the Jews in Jerusalem and forced them to stop the work by threat of arms. So the construction of the house of God in Jerusalem came to a halt and remained stopped until the second year of the reign of Darius, king of Persia. Chapter 5. The prophet Haggai and the prophet Zechariah, son of Iddo, began to give messages to the Israelites who were in Judah and Jerusalem, messages they had received from the God of Israel. Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, and Joshua, son of Josadak, heard the messages. Then they began to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem, and the two prophets helped them. Around the same time, Tatnai, the governor of the province west of the Euphrates, and Shethar-bozenai and their companions went to Jerusalem and asked, "Who gave you permission to rebuild this temple and repair these walls?" They also asked the names of the men who were helping rebuild the temple. But God was protecting the Israelite leaders. So the Persian officials decided not to take any action until they wrote to King Darius about the matter and received a reply. This is the report that Tatnai, Shethar-bozenai, and their companions sent to the king. "To King Darius, may your majesty enjoy peace. We bring to your attention that we went to the region of Judah and saw that the temple of the great God is being built with large blocks of stone, and that timber beams are being placed in the walls. The work is being done with great care, and the construction is progressing quickly. We questioned the leaders of the people, asking who had given them permission to rebuild the temple and repair the walls. We also asked their names, so that we might report to your majesty who the leaders of the work are. They answered, "We are servants of the God of heaven and earth, and we are rebuilding the temple that a great king of Israel built and completed long ago. However, our ancestors made the God of heaven angry, and therefore he allowed us to be conquered by Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, who was a Chaldean. The temple was destroyed, and the people were taken to Babylon. But in the first year of Cyrus' reign as king of Babylon, he ordered that the temple be rebuilt. He also returned the gold and silver vessels that King Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the temple in Jerusalem and placed in the temple of Babylon. King Cyrus returned these vessels to a man named Sheshbazzar, whom he had appointed governor of Judah. The king commanded Sheshbazzar to take them back to the temple in Jerusalem. He also commanded that the temple be rebuilt on its original site. So Sheshbazzar came and laid the foundations of the temple. Construction has continued from that time until now, but it has not yet been completed. Therefore, if it pleases your majesty, issue a decree for a search to be made in the royal archives in Babylon to determine whether King Cyrus did indeed issue a decree to rebuild this temple in Jerusalem. Then please inform us of your majesty's decision regarding this matter." Chapter 6 Then King Darius ordered that a search be made in the royal archives of Babylon, where the documents were kept, and in the city of Ecbatana, in the province of Media, the document was found. It read as follows: "In the first year of his reign, King Cyrus issued a decree for the temple of Jerusalem to be rebuilt, so that it would be the place where the people could present sacrifices and offerings to be completely burned. The temple was to measure 27 meters in height and 27 meters in width. The walls were to be built with 1 layer of timber on top of every 3 layers of stone. All expenses were to be paid by the government. Furthermore, all silver and gold objects that King Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the temple of Jerusalem and brought to Babylon were to be returned, each to its proper place in the temple of Jerusalem." Then King Darius sent the following order. These are the commands of King Darius to Tatnai, governor of the province west of the Euphrates, to Shethar-bozenai, and to their fellow officials of the province west of the Euphrates. Keep away from the temple and do not hinder its construction. Let the governor of Judah and the Israelite leaders rebuild the temple of God on the site of the one that was destroyed. By this letter, I order you to help them with the construction. All expenses shall be paid immediately, so that the work does not stop. The funds for this are to come from the royal treasury, that is, from the taxes collected in the province west of the Euphrates. Give the priests of Jerusalem, every day without fail, everything they say they need, young bulls, rams, and lambs to be completely burned as offerings to the God of heaven. Also give them wheat, salt, wine, and oil. This shall be done so that they may offer sacrifices pleasing to the God of heaven and pray for blessings for me and my sons. If anyone disobeys this order, I also command that you impale their body with a pointed beam taken from their house. Then drive the beam into the ground, additionally demolish their house, and make it a heap of rubble. May God, who chose Jerusalem as the place where he should be worshipped, destroy any king or nation that disobeys this order and tries to destroy the temple of Jerusalem. I, Darius, have given this order. Let it be obeyed in everything." Then Governor Tatnai, Shethar-bozenai, and their companions did exactly what the king had commanded. The Israelite leaders made progress in rebuilding the temple, encouraged by the messages of the prophet Haggai and the prophet Zechariah, son of Iddo. They completed the temple according to the commands of the God of Israel and the orders of Cyrus, Darius, and Artaxerxes, kings of Persia. They finished constructing the temple on the 3rd day of the month of Adar, in the 6th year of King Darius' reign. Then the people of Israel, that is, the priests, the Levites, and all the others who had returned from Babylon, held a dedication ceremony for the temple, joyfully offering it to the worship of God. For this dedication, they offered 100 bulls, 200 rams, and 400 lambs as sacrifices, and 12 goats as sin offerings, 1 goat for each tribe of Israel. They also set up the schedule of priests and Levites for service in the temple of Jerusalem, according to the instructions written in the book of Moses. The people who had returned from captivity in Babylon celebrated the Passover. On the 14th day of the first month, all the priests and Levites had purified themselves and were ceremonially clean. They killed the animals for the Passover sacrifices on behalf of all the people who had returned, for their fellow priests and also for themselves. All the Levites who had returned from Babylon ate of the sacrifice meat. and all who had abandoned the pagan practices of the peoples of the land of Canaan and had begun to worship the Lord, the God of Israel, also ate. For 7 days they celebrated the feast of unleavened bread with joy. They were very happy because the Lord had caused the king of Assyria to favor them, helping them in the work of rebuilding the temple.